I've seen the whole show. I won't spoil anything, but it is fantastic work. You look like you're having the time of your life working together. So that's what we're going to talk about today. So Claire, I'd like to start with you. I was very excited to see that this series reunited you with Howard Gordon, one of our favorites, obviously with whom you worked for 96 episodes on Homeland. Incredible. Including 2 Emmy wins for you, 40 nominations, and 8 Emmy wins for the show.
2 children.
And who can forget you running.
So
pregnant.
much running. Wow,
Claire.
very pregnant.
I remember. We haven't forgotten. You are a hero. So you were already attached to this series, Gabe Trotter's spec script, when Howard boarded the project. And I'm curious, with your longstanding relationship with Howard, what did his fresh eyes bring to the project that kind of congealed for you what this show could be and what excited you about what it could be?
Well, Gabe dreamt up this wonderful premise. It was a fantastic pilot, and he created this kind of suburban noir tale, and there were really brilliant elements. But yeah, I mean, Howard is just such a master TV craftsman. He really, really knows how to shape an episode and a season. And, so we needed some help to extrapolate from that seed. And I just knew that he was intensely qualified for this specific assignment. I mean, this is creating tension and suspense is something he's particularly gifted at.
Yeah. Yes, he is. And tell me the role that your friend Jodie Foster played in this project.
Yeah, so she was the person to initially bring this to me, I think 5 years ago when we were in the depths of COVID.
And she directed you in Home for the Holidays, is
she
that right?
did, yes. And we've had a few kind of false starts. We keep meaning to work together, and it since from that point on, we keep getting thwarted. But we'll figure it one day. It'll happen. So yeah, she was going to direct this, and she had developed it, and it went through quite a few different iterations. The Niall character especially was tricky to make full sense of, to define. Eventually she just receded into producer role, but and Antonio did just such a magnificent job, really.
Love Antonio's work.
Yeah.
It's stunning. Thank you for that. And Matthew, Howard has said that the role of Niall was pretty challenging to cast. And I was wondering, in what ways did it feel challenging to you to wrap your mind around? And also, as you're throwing your hat in the ring, what scared you about this character?
Well, everything scared me. In that the obvious pitfalls of the cliches you can dive into. So I very quickly just YouTubed what Anthony Hopkins said about Hannibal Lecter, and sort of I did shamelessly and followed suit, really.
So you totally cheated, is what you're saying?
Yes, I come from a long line of cheats.
But you went to a Welsh source.
Yes, I did.
Yeah, you could lay claim. That's fair.
Yes, to the Welsh godfather of acting. I went, I know what I'll do. And that's what I did.
Okay, so what did you learn from Sir Anthony about?
Well, obviously, some things didn't really weren't applicable to me because he, when he talks about minimal movement, he's been in a cell his entire life, and I'm not. So, but I still applied the same elements. I think with those parts there is you're just constantly aware of the pitfalls, the cliched pitfalls, and really the writing's so incredibly strong that one of the great steps was just not to get in the way of it and to truly play what was on the page because it was beautiful. So those were my awarenesses, and also the nuance between the two and their own great depths and layers were to be mined without kind of over magnifying, really. That was my hope. And not to move much.
Thank you for that. And Claire, Aggie and her ex-wife have suffered an unimaginable loss in the wake of losing their son. I was wondering how you used her heavy cloak of grief to inform your physical approach to the character. Because this feels like a really different character, at least for me, having known your work. This felt physically very different for you.
Yeah, it was. I mean, it's okay. Yeah, she's very sad in the beginning, and that was still quite unpleasant. Just kind of invoking those feelings, a necessary evil, but it informed everything. I mean, that is what is, yeah, yeah. So yeah, I think there's a heaviness, and I think she's pretty depressed. But yeah, and she's also I liked thinking about this kind of intellectual person, a writer, also being quite like dangerous and like predatorial. And so she's very internal, she's very cerebral, and I wanted to be true to that, like really honor that. Writers aren't typically so performative. They're more observing. But she little animalistic in there too. The title would suggest. So had these kind of competing forces at play. This rage that's roiling beneath this very controlled, contained, measured exterior. And then there's that unprocessed grief. Yeah.
Interesting. Thank you.
A blast.
Well, there's a reason you're great is you put a lot of work into it, and we can tell. And Matthew, you have described working with Claire as both, quote, exciting and terrifying. How did both of these feelings manifest in the delicious lunch scene that we see in episode 1?
That was sort of terrifying because when I first saw the schedule, that 10-page, 10-minute scene was on my second day, and I this is so unfair, this is awful, and I was still terrified of Claire Danes at the time, so I was going, this is going to be awful, and it'll be very, very difficult to kind of come in and do that. Actually, the opposite was true, and very quickly, I enjoyed just this incredibly dexterous, athletic, playfulness that Claire brings to the set was not just fun, but also I felt incredibly informative for the two then going forward into the piece. It kind of gave this beautiful foundation personally as to who they were, what they saw in each other, what they enjoyed in each other, what repulsed them in each other or angered, or it gave so much in one terrifying fell swoop.
When you say fell swoop, it really is so spirited. I love that.
No idea what it means.
I know. I don't think any of us know. We just say it.
Yes.
We just say it. And had you met before? You feel like your lives would have intertwined at some point.
Right? You would think. No.
Yeah.
Really?
No.
This is stunning. I can't imagine.
It's weird, but we have corrected that.
Yes.
Yes,
she said
you
she'd
have.
never work with me again. It's now in her contract. et cetera, et cetera.
This just feels like an inevitable duo on screen. It just feels like this thing we've all been waiting for. So I'm so glad it worked out.
I think I've met like Carrie with you
Yes.
at round tables.
Yes.
But
yes,
that's
we
that's
did.
as
Oh my God.
proximate as I got. Yeah.
Wow. Well, it was meant to be.
Yeah.
So speaking of the rapport that we see the two of you have on screen, it's so rare to see a man and a woman engaging in this sort of cat and mouse scenario where there isn't a sexual or romantic foundation. So sort of like with Brody and Homeland, there was always this simmering sort of interest on that front. Yes. It was very sexy. But I'm curious, Claire, in what ways did the lack of that rapport, the lack of romance or sexual energy, make it even more compelling for you to explore what is this attraction to this person? If it's not based in that sort of romantic sphere, what is it that's drawing her to him?
Yeah. I think they're just their minds, right? It's a mind. Brain
mance?
Something like that. We're gonna workshop that. But and they are they're it's adversarial, but they are it's so I still don't fully understand it, and we've done a whole season, but yeah, they're really quite excited by each other, and he in some ways is like the prince that kisses a frozen sleeping beauty or something. It's a very dangerous, nearly fatal kiss, but I just love that paradox.
Is it because they haven't had someone like the other person in their life?
Yeah,
sort of
I think they're both
satisfy that?
deeply isolated, and they're both, extraordinarily clever. They're both brilliant, and it's not very often that you find somebody who can. I don't think they typically encounter people who can keep up with them. So it was a rare opportunity.
Well, see, it's interesting. Both of their partners, and in her case, her ex-partner, they've chosen to be with people who are probably not their intellectual matches.
I think that's right.
And that has certainly informed this attraction. So it's their brain mance or mind mance, whatever we're calling it.
Yeah.
And Matthew, you have been described as, quote, dreamy by Claire. And even
True.
That cost me a lot of money. I was like, I'll give you $1,000 cash if you say that publicly.
And even Howard Gordon has called you sweet. And I think even the 30 minutes I've known you, I would agree. And yet this role showcases your natural embodiment of a total sociopath. I am curious how Antonio Campos, who's directing, I absolutely love, he did The Staircase among many really gripping series. How did he free you up to have the confidence to go there? Is there anything he told you on day one? Is there ongoing guidance he gave you that kept you in this space?
I had a visual code with him that if I was literally twirling the mustache too harsh, he would go like this, which meant I would bring it down or not kind of go, whoa.
You mean like sort of the bad guy trope?
Yeah. So there was that.
Now I'm curious, in that mustache twirling moment, what was it that you were doing? Were you acting with a capital A? Was it a little too nefarious in the movements? What was it?
It's a very cliched move, which is just where you're kind of looking up through your brows like that. And he's like, just lift your chin. Stop doing that. What? All right.
So he essentially said what our teachers told us: sit up straight.
Yeah, sit up straight. Just say the lines. Very David Mamet. Just say the lines. Stop adding things that aren't even there and that aren't that menacing anyway. All right.
Well, thank you, Antonio. That is very basic advice. And we are appreciative of that advice. So I'm going to depart for a moment from The Beast in Me to go to some wonderful audience questions. But before we do that, I'd love for your take on the meaningfulness of the title of the show. I think it has a music reference to a song. But in what ways do you think it refers to each of your characters, but also the larger arc?
Okay. Yeah. Well, I think it's okay. Aggie has not accepted full responsibility for her participation in the tragic event that happened with her son, and she is, avoiding fully moving through the grief and the pain by fixating on this man who is probably to blame, but she's just funneling all of that pain into a kind of rage towards this person, and it's a grave mistake, and it is killing her. So I think specifically that's what it means for her, and the amazing trick of the story is that she encounters, the darkest part of herself is suddenly kind of made incarnate in this other man. It's like her shadow self, who she's suddenly in relationship with, and she's forced to, kind of take to confront what might happen, what if her darkest wishes actually became manifest, and it forces to enter this crucible, this emotional crucible, and ultimately she is released. But But yeah, I mean, I think it's about whatever, you know, anger, grief, dark feeling that we haven't fully explored and is starting to become gangrenous in all of us. Something.
Great. Matthew, can you top that? That was pretty great.
No, I just sat in awe.
Can you use
going, well,
gangrenous in a sentence, please?
No, I can't. I can't. I obviously enjoyed how much in the two of them, how much the title applies, but also to the greater cast also. It's equally as applicable. I found that there is in the surrounding kind of players, really, that there are equal beasts in all that throughout these turn of events are driving everyone's quote unquote beast to the fore.
Great. I love it. All right, let's take a departure for audience questions. First is from Timothy. Where's Timothy today? See him? Okay, it's kind of dark. I can't see you. This is for Claire, and he would like to know, Claire, is your approach to acting always the same in terms of your process? And if not, in what ways does it differ role to role?
It really is specific to the character. In this case, I had to learn about paternal grief. That was the assignment. Read a few books about that, and just had to, circle that. And the rest was fairly intuitive. It was so helpful working with Arjun, our costume designer, he's brilliant. And really, in that first fitting, I was like, well, you gave me 70% of my character. And now it's on me to provide the remaining 30. I did math. Did you see that? I think that was actually accurate.
In real time.
You
Yes.
betcha.
Percentages. I'm impressed.
That is the extent of it. But yeah, in this I'm playing another role where I'm a neurosurgeon, so that is a different level of research that I have to do. I, watched a 6-hour surgery a couple weeks ago. But yeah, you never know what kind of world you're going to have to enter in Homeland. I, spent a lot of time at Langley and learning about the bipolar condition. You become
You're a student.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. But mostly it's like first it's kind of in the head, and then you eventually drop into the body. That's the last part, and that's the most important part. But you kind of have to do this analytical work, and also figuring out like what the parallel is for you and the character, like where those coordinates meet. But I always am panicked and sure that I'm going to fail whenever I'm at the very beginning of any job, inevitably. But I'm thoroughly convinced of it. It's not cute. I'm just like, it really feels like.
So at what point do you accept that you're not failing?
I really love the kind of being a third of the way through a shoot when you've you have a bit of a clue, you've oriented yourself really and you kind of forged your relationships with people in the cast and the crew, and you feel, like you've landed, you're immersed and you have some flow and you still have some energy. Like towards the end, you're like really hitting the Red Bulls hard. But yeah, that's a good sweet spot. But the first week is just, oh God, it's just vomit inducing. It's scary.
And it never gets easier, it sounds.
No, because it can't. Like if you're actually doing it for real, there is always risk involved, I think. And, yeah, it's just.
I think those fears really just show that you care a lot.
That I care, and I don't yet know. So yeah, but it is also fun.
When?
One third of the way through, and I get to play with you.
I remember that day. Yeah. That was a fun day.
But
oh, we laughed.
No, really, getting to play with an actor like Matthew truly is the best part. He didn't pay me for that. The other one he did, but not that one.
And it's fun to go to the premiere and bask in everyone's achievements as well. That must feel good too.
That's also awkward.
Because it's been a whole year since you've seen people and you can't remember their names, and then you look at your work and you go, oh my God!
Oh, you guys are hilarious. Okay. The next question's from Marlon, who has amazing penmanship, by the way. Oh, hello. Fantastic. You get an A. This is for Matthew. And Marlon would like to know, with success, actors have more room in the roles that they can play. And Matthew, what do you most consider when you're choosing a part for yourself? And besides, if Anthony Hopkins has a video for you to look at on YouTube.
Yes. I mean, the enormous draw for me with this project was I don't usually get considered for these kind of parts, and it's rare that I get to play parts like this. So I leapt at this, and so that's really, to me, the kind of litmus test of whether I want to do something. Is that, well, first of all, I was desperate to find out, when I read the pilot, of what happened, what's the cliffhanger, where's it going to go? And then spent the entire shoot asking Claire,
Wondering.
What happens at the end?
Nobody knew. It had not yet been written.
Oh.
That was terrifying.
Sure was.
Yeah. Yes. But really, it's the true luxury of not having played a part before is really something, a great draw for me. And equal part, terror as well, but that's partly why we do it.
I see a Bond villain in your future.
Come, Mr. Bond.
Right?
I've been telling the Broccoli's for years.
Well, this is their invitation officially.
I did make a spectacular fool of myself when they did the general casting for just before Daniel Craig was cast. They saw every British actor, and you were told to read Casino Royale and turn up in a dark suit. And you go to the Broccoli office, which overlooks Hyde Park, and it's the most intimidating space you've ever been in your life. And the Broccolis are all there, lined up behind this huge desk.
Wearing green.
And I was like, it's true, you are a cliche. No, and then so I walked in, I sit down, and they went, did you read the book? And I went, yes. And they went, what would you do differently with James Bond? And then I went, it's a trick question. I was like, they don't want you to do anything different. And then I went, oh no, they genuinely do want you to do something different. So I know, I'll play safe. I'll say a joke. So I said, eye patch.
And that's why Daniel was cast.
And that's when I nearly froze to death. The temperature in the room changed so violently, and I knew my time was up. I was expecting, the old, but it didn't come.
James Bond is a lot of things. Funny is really not one of them, I think we've realized.
No, Roger Moore made me laugh.
He was definitely the drunkest and most fun, I think,
right?
For sure.
Absolutely.
Sean Connery had a little sparkle.
They did. I think there's a cheeky humor to Bond that needs to come back.
Okay, another question for Matthew from Francesca. Francesca says, you've played two very sad, troubled characters in Philip Jennings and now in this show. And how does Niall compare? Oh, and also to Perry Mason as well. A lot of sad folks.
I'll tell you a quick story. When I sat down once in Los Angeles next to a very good-looking man, and he looked at me and he went, Scottish. And I went, no. He went, Irish. And I went, no. And he went, my God, what are you? I went, Welsh. He went, the other Celt. And I said, what made you say that? He goes, you got the Celtic lids, right? The Celtic lid, which apparently is a real Celtic trait. You're just downtrodden by the English for hundreds of years. Ultimately, you look like that. And I attribute most of my tragic characters to my Celtic lids. Because if my resting face is tragedy. They keep going, God, you look tragic. It's like, I'm not doing anything. I'm actually quite happy. These aren't tropes. This is real. It's sincere truth.
Oh my goodness. Coming this fall, My Resting Face is Tragedy by Matthew Rhys.
Life in showbiz.
And the final two questions actually center on the same subject, one that's dear to a lot of our hearts, My So-Called Life, starring one Claire Danes, and Brandon and an unnamed person have both asked questions about My So-Called Life. I feel like So-Called Life just hit a milestone year, right? It was 95, so we're at 30. Is that possible, Claire?
Yeah, it
Oh,
is.
good Lord. Where did the time go? So obviously we have 5 minutes. We do not have time to dissect the meaningfulness of My So-Called Life. But I do want to ask, is probably something people talk about a lot with you as being very formative. What does this show mean to you now? You have young children, thinking about what they're watching, and people who are still being affected by this show, gay kids, seeing a gay character on TV. It really still is so groundbreaking.
It's kind of shocking how many kids come up to me now and say that it really helps them. I mean, generations, plural, later.
Literally one season.
Yeah, it's not even.
Not even a full
season. We didn't even
season.
make it to the end. We did 19 out of 22 episodes, and it has this kind of wild resonance, and Afterlife. Look, Winnie Holtzman, who wrote that, and also wrote Wicked, by the way. Yahweh. And she's a dear, dear friend of mine and utterly brilliant. But yeah, I mean, I remember reading that pilot. I was in middle school, like in bed. So like, I'm reading the perfect diary entry, one that I could never write. It was just such a kind of profound relief to have somebody. It was like Cyrano's story, like give me the language for what I was experiencing. And I was so unhappy. Oh my God. I mean, that period in a girl's life especially is just rough. But I got to leave actual hellscape school and live in a much safer, fictionalized version and just comment on it. And I felt, it was an incredible experience. But no, I most of that, the success of all of that had to do with Winnie's genius.
So grateful to her.
Oh, yeah.
And in closing, with our 3 minutes that we have left, I would like to know for The Beast in Me, what has been the most artistically fulfilling part of this process, but also your partnership? Maybe Matthew, I'll have you start.
I think it was really, which drew me to the piece, which was this obviously core relationship between the two, and then knowing it was going to be with Claire, and then having the time that I had in. It felt like, I don't know, it was like training for the Olympics with this one, in that you had to turn up, peak and give it, but also it was so exhilarating, getting to do those scenes with Claire and deeply satisfying, and then you got to kind of explore the landscape the two of them inhabit was just a true joy.
Yeah, same. But this just needed like the styrofoam pointer fingers. But this was my first experience producing something from the ground up. I mean, I inherited that role over the course of filming.
And it was an original idea.
No, it was Gabe's idea.
But I'm saying it was his original idea, not based on IP or a book.
Yeah. And that's very hard, by the way. There was no source material to, return to, draw from. But so I got to, I had the essay and what locations we committed to, what Aggie's house was going to be, and and then I got to participate in the hiring of all of the the crew members, and that first week I was like, I really like everybody here. This is so great, and I was like, oh, because I hired them. But to be able to really like populate the world with people that I was, that I adored and believed in was such a privilege, and super recommend it. Like, it was really fun.
Well, we can tell you're having the time of your life. We're so grateful for you for being here. So thank you so much
for coming, guys.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you.